The divorce papers sat between us on the kitchen table like a corpse neither of us wanted to touch. "Just sign them, Marcus." Rachel's voice was flat, emptied of everything that had once made it hers. No tremor, no plea, just the administrative tone of someone closing a business transaction. I looked at the blue pen she'd placed exactly perpendicular to the documents, the same precision she'd brought to 17 years of marriage, the same attention to detail that had once made me feel like I was the center of someone's carefully constructed universe. Now it felt like evidence cataloging. "Rachel, don't!" She held up one hand, palm out. Her wedding ring was gone. I hadn't noticed when that happened. Last week, last month. "We've been over this 40 times. I'm done talking." The fluorescent light above the table buzzed, one of those sounds you only hear in silences too heavy to carry. Outside our kitchen window, October wind stripped the last leaves from the oak tree we'd planted when Sophie was born. 15 years. The tree had outlasted us. "I know I messed up," I said. The words felt like stones in my mouth. "But if we could just—" "It's too late, Marcus." She said it simply, the way you'd tell someone a store was closed. I mean that. It's actually genuinely too late. I'd heard her say it before, in arguments, in therapy sessions with Dr. Brennan, in the car after I'd missed Sophie's 8th grade graduation because of a work crisis that couldn't wait. But this time was different. This time she wasn't trying to hurt me or wake me up. She was stating a fact. "What about Sophie?" I tried. "Sophie is why I'm doing this." Rachel stood, smoothing her jeans with both hands, a nervous habit from when we first met, back when she used to get nervous around me. "She's 15. She's watching us. Every day she's learning what marriage looks like, what love looks like, and I cannot let her think this is it." The coffee maker gurgled its last breath behind her, filling the kitchen with a smell that should have been comforting but wasn't. I'd bought that coffee maker. Premium brand. Rachel had wanted the cheaper one. "I can change," I said. She laughed, but it wasn't cruel. It was worse. It was tired. 17 years of tired. "You can't change the past 5 years, Marcus. You can't change missing our anniversary 3 times. You can't change forgetting to pick her up from soccer practice so many times she stopped asking you. You can't change choosing your phone over us every single dinner for the last year. That's not fair. I was building the business. I know." She walked to the sink, rinsed her coffee cup with meticulous care. "You built something incredible. Donovan and Associates is thriving. Congratulations. You won." I looked at the papers again. My attorney, Bill Morrison, a guy I played golf with, had already reviewed them. Rachel wasn't asking for much. The house, split custody of Sophie, half the investments. She had her own career, her own money from the medical practice. She didn't need to take me to the cleaners. She just needed out. The irony wasn't lost on me. Rachel had her own successful practice, pulled in nearly as much as I did. This wasn't about money. It never had been. It was about presence, about choosing to be somewhere instead of always being pulled somewhere else. I remembered the night we met, 20 years ago at a fundraiser neither of us wanted to attend. She'd been wearing a green dress, standing alone by the bar, looking as bored as I felt. I'd made some stupid joke about the rubber chicken dinner, and she'd laughed, really laughed, the kind that made her eyes crinkle at the corners. "Finally, someone honest," she'd said. "Everyone here is so busy networking they forgot how to be human." That was Rachel. She saw through bullshit. She valued authenticity. And somewhere along the way, I'd become the exact kind of person she couldn't stand. Someone who sacrificed humanity for achievement. "I love you," I said. Rachel's shoulders stiffened. She set the cup in the dish rack with a soft click. "I know you think you do." She turned around, and I saw something in her face I'd never seen before. Pity. "But, Marcus, you love the idea of us. You love coming home to a house that runs smoothly. You love that Sophie exists and does well in school. You love that I don't complain when you travel. You love the framework, but you haven't actually seen me, really seen me in years. That's not true. What's my favorite book? The question landed like a slap. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. What am I reading right now? What did I do last Tuesday? Who's my best friend these days? Is it still Kelly, or has that changed? What am I afraid of? Each question was a scalpel, precise and clean. You don't know, she said softly, and that's okay. That's just where we are. But I can't do it anymore. I can't be invisible in my own life. I stood up, desperate. Give me 2 months. Let me show you. No. The word was a wall. I gave you 2 months last year after therapy started. I gave you 6 months before that, when I told you we were in trouble. I gave you 2 years before that, when I was still asking. I'm done giving you time to decide I'm worth your attention. She walked toward the hallway, then paused. Sign the papers or don't, Marcus. But I'm moving forward either way. I've already rented an apartment. Sophie and I are moving out this weekend. This weekend? My voice cracked. You can't just... I can. I am. No. She looked at me one last time, and I saw the ghost of the woman who used to laugh at my terrible jokes, who used to steal my fries even though she ordered a salad, who used to wake me up at midnight just to show me how the moon looked over the lake. I hope you build everything you're working toward. I really do. I just won't be here to see it. She left the room. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, the soft close of our bedroom door. Not a slam. Rachel never slammed doors. She was too controlled for that, even in anger. I sat back down, picked up the pen, put it down. The papers blurred in front of me. My phone buzzed on the table. A text from Jason, my business partner. Client MTG moved to tomorrow, 8 a.m. Need the Patterson files ready. I looked at the phone, at the papers, at the empty doorway where Rachel had been. Then I picked up my phone and started scrolling through emails. The Patterson case. A commercial dispute worth $3 million in fees if we won. 6 months of work, 80-hour weeks, countless late nights. Jason and I had built the case from nothing, turned it into our flagship. I opened the email, read through Jason's notes, started typing a response. Halfway through, I stopped, put the phone down, looked at the divorce papers. Then I picked the phone back up and kept typing. It was pathetic. Even I could see it. My marriage was ending on the kitchen table, and I was worried about a client meeting. But the client meeting made sense. It had clear objectives, measurable outcomes, a beginning and an end. This, the papers, the empty kitchen, the ghost of my wife walking away, was chaos I didn't know how to manage. So I managed what I could control. I worked until midnight, until the house felt less empty because I could pretend I was at the office, until exhaustion made thinking about Rachel hurt less. My phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m., a text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Dr. Brennan's emergency line. Rachel Donovan gave me your number. She wanted me to check if you're okay. Are you okay, Marcus? I stared at the text for a long time. Rachel had left me, was moving out this weekend, had already rented an apartment and started a new life. And she'd still asked her therapist to check on me. That was Rachel. Even in leaving. She was more present than I'd been in years. I typed, I'm fine, thank you for checking. The response came quickly. That's what people say when they're not fine. My office tomorrow, 3 p.m. I have an opening, take it. I almost said no. I had meetings, deadlines, responsibilities. Then I looked at the divorce papers, still unsigned on the table. I'll be there, I typed. Doctor. Brennan's office smelled like lavender and old books. I'd been there dozens of times before, always with Rachel, always defensive, always half listening while planning my counter-arguments. This time I was alone, and I had nowhere to hide. Tell me about the moment you realized it was over, Dr. Brennan said, settling into her chair with a notepad she never actually wrote in. I'd always suspected it was a prop to make clients feel like their words mattered. When she said she'd rented an apartment, when I saw her face and knew she wasn't bluffing anymore. That's when you knew she was serious. I asked when you realized it was over. Those are different things. I shifted in the leather chair, suddenly aware of how uncomfortable it was. Had it always been this uncomfortable? I don't understand the difference. Don't you? She tilted her head, studying me with those therapist eyes that saw too much. You're an attorney, Marcus. You understand the difference between evidence and verdict, between knowing something intellectually and accepting it emotionally. I was quiet, watching dust motes drift through the afternoon sunlight slanting through her window. It was over years ago, I finally said. I just didn't want to see it. Why not? Because seeing it would mean admitting I'd failed. And I don't fail. I win cases. I build businesses. I solve problems. I don't fail at the most important thing in my life. Except you did. The words should have stung. Instead, they felt like relief. Someone finally saying the truth out loud. Yeah, I did. So what now? I don't know. I've never not known what to do next. There's always been a plan, a strategy, a next move. But this... I gestured vaguely at nothing. I don't even know what the goal is anymore. Win her back? Move on? Learn to live with what I destroyed? What do you want the goal to be? I want to undo it. I want to go back 5 years and not be such an arrogant asshole. I want to choose differently. You can't. I know. So what can you do? I thought about that. Really thought about it. Instead of reflexively generating an answer designed to end the uncomfortable conversation. I can be different going forward. With Sophie, at least. Rachel's done with me, but Sophie, she's still here, still my daughter, still giving me chances I don't deserve. Dr. Brennan nodded slowly. That's a start. But Marcus, you need to understand something. Change isn't a transaction. You can't just decide to be different and expect immediate results. It's a practice. Daily, unglamorous, often unrewarded practice. I know. Do you? Because in my experience, people like you, high achievers, type A personalities, you treat change like a case to win, set goals, hit milestones, measure success. But relationships don't work that way. Sometimes you do everything right and still don't get the outcome you want. Then what's the point? The point is becoming someone you can live with, someone your daughter can respect, someone who shows up not because there's a reward at the end, but because that's who you've decided to be. Sophie wouldn't look at me during our first dinner apart. The restaurant, a chain Italian place off Highway 34, was her choice, not mine. I'd suggested Moretti's, the upscale place where we used to celebrate her good report cards, but she'd said no. Too fancy, too much. How's school? I asked, cutting into chicken parmesan that tasted like cardboard and regret. Fine. Your mom said you joined debate team. Yeah. She twirled spaghetti around her fork with the same mechanical precision Rachel used to organize closets. Like mother, like daughter. I'd always thought that was a compliment. That's great, Soph. You've always been good at arguing your point. She looked up then, and I saw Rachel in her eyes, that same exhausted disappointment. Can we not do this? She said. Do what? The whole pretend everything's normal thing. You get me every other weekend. This is Tuesday. You're only here because the custody agreement says you get 1 weeknight dinner per week. The words hit like a fist. That's not why I'm here. Isn't it? She set down her fork. You checked your phone 4 times since we sat down. You asked the waiter to bring you a Diet Coke instead of regular, which means you're planning to work late tonight. And you're cutting your chicken exactly the way you do when you're distracted and just trying to get through something. I looked down at my plate. She was right. The chicken was in identical squares. I'm sorry, I said. For what, specifically? The question surprised me. Most 15-year-olds would accept a blanket apology and move on. But Sophie had Rachel's precision, and apparently her refusal to accept easy answers. I struggled. For the divorce, for things changing. You mean for causing the divorce? The restaurant's background music, some sanitized jazz version of a pop song, filled the silence between us. It's complicated, Sophie. No, it's not. She picked up her fork again, but didn't eat. Mom asked you to come home for dinner. You said work was too important. She asked you to come to my games. You said you'd try. She asked you to turn off your phone during family time. You said you couldn't. That's not complicated. That's just choices. I was providing for you, for both of you. We didn't need more money, Dad. We needed you. The use of past tense, needed, not need, felt like a door closing. I'm here now, I said weakly. Sophie laughed, but it was bitter, too old for her face. Are you? Because it feels like you're thinking about work. About Patterson files or whatever Jason texted you about. I'd forgotten she could see my phone screen when it lit up. She stood, slinging her backpack over one shoulder. I'm going to wait in the car. Sophie, we haven't finished. Yeah, we have. I watched her walk out, her posture rigid, controlled. Not a scene, not a tantrum, just a quiet exit, like mother, like daughter. Mushinum. The apartment Rachel had rented was in a converted warehouse on Sheridan Street, the kind of trendy development that promised authentic loft living to people who'd never actually lived in a real loft. I sat in my car across the street, engine running, heat blasting against the November cold. Through their third-floor window I could see movement. Shadows passing back and forth, boxes being unpacked, a new life being assembled from the pieces of our old one. My phone rang. Bill Morrison. Marcus, I need you to review the counteroffer from the Hutchinson case. Can it wait? You told me to call you the moment it came in. It came in. I looked up at the window again, saw Sophie pass by, carrying what looked like a lamp. Send it over, I said. I'll look tonight. You're the best. Drinks Thursday. Yeah, sure. I hung up and opened my laptop, balancing it on the steering wheel. The Hutchinson file loaded. A commercial real estate dispute. 6 figures in billable hours. The kind of case that had built Donovan and Associates' reputation. I worked until the windows across the street went dark, until my back ached from the car seat, until the coffee I'd bought 3 hours ago was cold and bitter. When I finally drove home, to the empty house that echoed with everything I'd lost, there was a note taped to the door. Rachel's handwriting, forgot Sophie's soccer trophy. It's in the garage top shelf. Also, I took the good blender. You never used it anyway. I peeled off the note and went inside. The house smelled wrong, too clean, like the absence of people. I found the trophy where she'd said, packed in a box labeled Sophie's room in careful marker. Underneath the trophy was a photo album I'd forgotten existed. I sat on the garage floor and opened it. Pictures of us, Rachel in her wedding dress, laughing at something outside the frame. Sophie as a baby, tiny fingers wrapped around mine. A vacation to the Grand Canyon, where I'd taken a week off, actually off. No laptop, no phone calls. Rachel had called it our digital detox, and I'd complained the entire drive there, then admitted she was right when we watched the sunset from the rim. I couldn't remember the last time I'd admitted she was right about anything. The last photo stopped me. Last Christmas, we're standing in front of the tree, Rachel, Sophie, and me. Sophie is smiling. Rachel is smiling. I'm looking at my phone. I closed the album and sat in the garage until the motion sensor light gave up and turned off, leaving me in complete darkness. The darkness felt appropriate, honest even. My phone rang, shattering the silence. Jason. Where are you? We had drinks scheduled. I'd completely forgotten. I'm at home. You okay? You sound weird. Rachel moved out this weekend. Silence on the other end, then, Jesus, Marcus, I'm coming over. You don't have to. I'm already in my car. 20 minutes later, Jason was sitting on my garage floor next to me, 2 beers from my fridge in hand. "This is pathetic," he said, looking around at the boxes, the photo album, me sitting in the dark. "Yeah. Want to talk about it? Not really. Want to get drunk and pretend everything's fine? That sounds worse." Jason took a long drink of his beer. "Amy saw this coming years ago. She told me to talk to you. I didn't listen." "What would you have said?" "That you were going to lose them if you didn't wake up. That work isn't everything. That I spent 5 years building the firm before Amy gave me an ultimatum, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me." I looked at him surprised. "Amy gave you an ultimatum? Firm or family? Choose one." I chose family, cut my hours in half, and you know what? The firm survived. Thrived, even. Turns out you can be successful without sacrificing everything else. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you weren't ready to hear it. You're not ready now either. But maybe you're ready to start becoming ready." We sat in silence for a while, drinking beer in my garage like we were 25 again, before marriages and mortgages and all the ways life gets complicated. "I don't know how to be different," I finally said. "Nobody does. You just start, one choice at a time." Work became a fortress. I took on 3 new cases, started arriving at the office at 6 a.m., leaving at 9 p.m. Jason noticed. "You're going to burn out," he said, standing in my office doorway with his 5th coffee of the day. "I'm fine. You haven't taken lunch in 2 weeks. I'm busy." He studied me with the uncomfortable insight of someone who'd known me since law school. "This isn't about work, is it?" "Drop it, Jason. She really left." I looked up from the deposition transcript I was reviewing. I said, "Drop it." He raised his hands in surrender and left, but not before saying, "Running from it doesn't change it, brother." That night I had dinner with Sophie again. Wednesday, custody agreement, another restaurant, this one her choice, a burger place she used to love as a kid. "How's the new apartment?" I asked. "Good. Mom let me pick my room color. I went with gray." "That's nice. How's the house?" "Empty." The word came out before I could stop it. Sophie looked up, surprised by my honesty. "You could sell it," she said carefully. "Get something smaller." "It's our home. It was our home. Now it's just where you live." Truth delivered with teenage bluntness. "Your mom says you're doing well," I tried. "Keeping your grades up." "Yeah." "Debate competition next month?" "Yeah." We ate in silence for a while. I didn't touch my phone. Progress, maybe, or just exhaustion. "Dad," Sophie said eventually, setting down her burger, "can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why didn't you fight for us?" The question hung in the air between us like smoke. "I did," I started. "No, you didn't." Her voice was quiet but firm. "Mom gave you chances, so many chances. She told you what she needed. She told you what I needed. And you just kept choosing work. Like we were this thing you could get to eventually, when you had time. And now you're acting like you're the victim, like this happened to you. But Dad, you did this. To us. To yourself." My throat felt tight. I thought I was doing the right thing, building something, securing our future. We didn't need security. We needed a dad who showed up. She pulled out her wallet, placed a 20 on the table. "I'm going to call Mom to pick me up." "Sophie, please." "I love you, Dad. I really do. But I can't keep doing these dinners where you pretend everything's okay, and I pretend I don't see you checking your watch. It's exhausting." She left before I could respond. I sat alone in the booth, surrounded by the sounds of other families laughing, talking, being present with each other. The burger tasted like ash. My phone buzzed, a text from Rachel. Sophie called. "I'm picking her up. This isn't working, Marcus. Maybe we need to rethink the weeknight dinners." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "You're probably right." Her reply came fast. "I'm sorry it came to this. I typed and deleted 5 different responses before settling on "me too." Thanksgiving came like a sentencing. Rachel had Sophie. That was the agreement. I'd get Christmas. The math of broken families, everything divided into equal but devastating pieces. I spent Thanksgiving at Jason's house, surrounded by his loud, loving family, nieces and nephews running through the house. His wife, Amy, making enough food for an army. His parents telling the same stories they'd told every year since college. "Marcus, you remember the time in torts when Professor Callahan called on you and you were asleep?" Jason's dad said, already laughing at his own memory. I smiled on cue, nodded, participated, but I felt like a ghost at the feast, watching real life happen through glass. Amy cornered me in the kitchen while I was refilling my wine. "How are you really doing?" she asked, her voice low enough that the others wouldn't hear. "I'm fine." "Bullshit." She said it kindly, but firmly. "I've known you for 15 years, Marcus. You're not fine." I set down the wine bottle. "What do you want me to say?" "The truth would be nice. The truth is, I destroyed my marriage because I was too proud and too stupid to see what I had until it was gone. The truth is, my daughter can barely stand to be in the same room as me. The truth is, I'm 43 years old, and I have no idea who I am when I'm not working." Amy was quiet for a moment, then, "Have you told Rachel any of this?" "What's the point? She's moved on." "Has she?" The question surprised me. "She's the one who filed. That doesn't mean she's moved on. That means she got tired of waiting." Amy poured herself more wine. "You know what Rachel told me last year, at my birthday party?" I shook my head. She said she was afraid she was becoming the kind of person who accepted crumbs and called it a meal. She said she looked at her life and realized she was teaching Sophie that love meant settling for whatever scraps of attention someone was willing to give you. Amy met my eyes. "She didn't leave because she stopped loving you, Marcus. She left because she still loved herself." The following week, I did something I hadn't done in 5 years. I cancelled a client meeting. Bill Morrison nearly had a heart attack. "You never cancel on clients. First time for everything. Is everything okay?" "No," I said, "but I'm trying to fix it." I drove to Sophie's school and waited in the parking lot until debate practice ended. When she came out, backpack slung over one shoulder, talking with a girl I didn't recognize, she looked so grown up it hurt. She saw me and stopped. "Dad?" "Hey, Soph, can we talk?" She glanced at her friend, who tactfully wandered toward the bus stop. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see you. It's not your day." "I know." She studied me with Rachel's analytical gaze, looking for the catch. "Is something wrong?" "Yeah," I said. "Everything. Can we sit?" We sat on a bench near the soccer field, where she used to play. Back when I still came to games, the November wind carried the smell of dead leaves and the distant sound of a marching band practicing. "Sophie, I need to tell you something, and I need you to just listen. Can you do that?" She nodded, uncertain. "I've been a terrible father. Not because I didn't love you, but because I didn't show up. And I don't mean physically, though I didn't do that either. I mean I wasn't present. I was always thinking about work, about the next case, the next client, the next thing to build or win or accomplish. And I told myself I was doing it for you and your mum, but that was a lie. I was doing it for me, because work was easier than being vulnerable, than being a real person with real emotions." She didn't interrupt, but I could see her eyes getting wet. "Your mom tried to tell me 100 different ways, and I heard her, but I didn't listen. There's a difference. And by the time I started listening, it was too late. She'd already used up all her chances on me." "Dad," "Let me finish." I took a breath. "I can't fix what I did to your mom. That's done. But you You're not done. You're here and you're incredible, and you deserve a father who actually sees you. Who knows your favorite book is The Book Thief because you've read it 6 times? Who knows you switched from soccer to debate because you hated running but loved arguing? Who knows you're scared of disappointing people even though you never do? She was crying now, silent tears tracking down her face. I can't undo the past 5 years, I said, but I can show up for the next 5, and the 5 after that, if you'll let me. Sophie wiped her face with her sleeve. You really cancelled work to come here? Yes, that's actually kind of big for you. It's pathetic that cancelling one meeting is big, but yeah, it's a start. She was quiet for a long time, watching the marching band in the distance. I miss you, she finally said, like the old you. The dad who used to build blanket forts and let me stay up late watching terrible movies before everything became about work. I miss him too. Can he come back? I don't know, but I'm going to try. She leaned against my shoulder, the way she used to when she was little and tired. Mom's dating someone, she said quietly. The words hit like a truck. What? Dr. Peterson from her practice. He asked her to dinner last week. She said yes. I felt something crack inside my chest. Oh, I thought you should know. We sat in silence. The band played on. The world kept turning. Does he make her happy? I finally asked. Sophie shrugged. I don't know. She smiled when she told me about it, like a real smile, the kind she used to have before everything got bad. Then I'm glad, I lied. You're a terrible liar, Dad. Yeah, I know. I started seeing Dr. Brennan again, solo sessions this time. Tell me why you're here, she said in that therapist way that wasn't really a question. Because I destroyed everything good in my life, and I don't know how to live with that. That's a start. Now tell me why you really destroyed it. I shifted in the leather chair that had witnessed dozens of failed attempts at saving my marriage. I don't know. Yes, you do. Fine. I destroyed it because work was safer, because I knew how to win at work. I knew the rules, the metrics, the scoreboard. But with Rachel and Sophie, there was no scoreboard, just showing up and being present and being vulnerable. And I didn't know how to do that, so I hid. Dr. Brennan nodded. And now? Now the hiding place is gone. Now I'm just alone with everything I was afraid of facing, which is that I'm not enough, that if I'm not achieving, not building, not winning, I'm just nothing, that the only value I bring is professional success. She leaned back, studying me. Marcus, do you know what Rachel said in our last session together before she decided to file? I shook my head. She said, I fell in love with a man who made me laugh and felt big emotions and wasn't afraid to be silly. Then he built a fortress around himself and called it maturity. I don't know who lives inside that fortress anymore, but it's not the man I married. The words landed like physical blows. Can I get him back? I asked. That version of me? I don't know, can you? December arrived with unseasonable snow. I had Sophie for Christmas week, per the agreement. She came to the house on Christmas Eve. Her suitcase packed by Rachel with characteristic precision. I'd spent the previous week preparing, bought a tree, a real one, not the pre-lit artificial one we'd used for years. Strung lights the way Rachel used to like them, multicolored instead of white. Made hot chocolate from scratch, found our old Christmas movies and lined them up. Sophie walked in and stopped. Dad, what is all this? More Christmas, the way we used to do it. She set down her suitcase. You never liked this stuff. You always said it was too much work. I was an idiot. We made cookies that turned out terrible, watched Elf twice, built a fire in the fireplace I hadn't used in 3 years. I turned off my phone and put it in a drawer. You okay? Sophie asked at one point. watching me like I might suddenly transform back into the person she'd learned to expect. Honestly, no, I'm not okay, but I'm here, fully here, and that's different. On Christmas morning, I gave her one present, an envelope. She opened it, confused. Inside was a letter, handwritten. Sophie, I can't give you back the time I wasted. I can't undo the games I missed or the dinners I ruined by being on my phone. I can't make your childhood different, but I can give you a promise. From this moment forward, you are my priority. Not work, not clients, not success, you. This letter also contains 52 coupons, one for each week of the year. Each coupon is for one whatever you want day. Want to go to the movies? Use a coupon. Want to teach me TikTok dances even though I'll be terrible? Coupon. Want to just sit and talk about nothing? Coupon. Your choice. Every week. No excuses. No phones. Just us. I can't force you to forgive me, but I can show you who I'm trying to become. Love. Dad. She read it twice, then looked at me with wet eyes. You're really going to do this? Every single week. What about work? And do work exists to support my life, not the other way around? She hugged me then, fierce and tight, and I realized it had been months since we'd hugged. Don't screw this up, she whispered. I won't. The call came on a Tuesday in February, during Sophie's debate competition. I was in the audience, phone silenced, watching her demolish her opponent's argument about climate policy with the kind of surgical precision that made me simultaneously proud and terrified for any future spouse. Rachel was supposed to be there. She'd texted that morning, running late, save me a seat. But she never showed. When Sophie came off stage, triumphant, she immediately scanned the crowd. I saw her face fall when she realized it was just me. Did Mom text you? She asked. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Rachel. 5 texts. Emergency at the clinic. Patient crisis. I'm so sorry. Tell Sophie I'm sorry. Can you record her next round? I'll make it up to her. Sophie read the texts over my shoulder. Her face closed off in that way I'd learned to recognize, the Rachel defense mechanism, shutting down to avoid showing hurt. It's fine, she said too quickly. She's busy. I get it. But I saw what I'd missed so many times before, the small death in her eyes, the resignation of someone learning that work always wins. We went to dinner after the competition, just us. Sophie ordered her usual, but barely touched it. She promised she'd be there, she finally said, stabbing at her pasta. I know, baby. She's turning into you. The words hit like ice water. What? Sophie looked up, angry now. She's doing the same thing, always working, always at the clinic. Dr. Peterson calls and she drops everything. Last week she missed my debate practice because of some patient emergency. This is the 3rd thing she's missed this month. I felt something shift in my chest, a recognition I didn't want to acknowledge. Soph, that's different. She's a doctor. Emergencies are real. And you were a lawyer with real cases and real clients and real deadlines. That was your excuse too. She pushed her plate away. I thought when you guys split, at least one of you would actually have time for me. But now I have 2 part-time parents instead of 1 full-time family. I texted Rachel that night. We need to talk. About Sophie. Her response came an hour later. I know. Tomorrow? Coffee? We met at a place we used to go to when we were dating. Back when the world was different and we didn't need lawyers to schedule our time together. Rachel looked exhausted. Beautiful, but exhausted. There were shadows under her eyes I didn't remember, new lines around her mouth. Before you say anything, she started, I know I screwed up. The debate thing, there was a patient, a 12-year-old with acute appendicitis, and Rachel, stop. She stopped, surprised. I'm not here to guilt you about missing the debate. I'm here because Sophie said something that scared me. What? She said you're turning into me. Rachel's face went pale. That's not fair. Isn't it? You've missed 3 events this month. You're dating a doctor you met at work. Sophie says you take calls during dinner. I'm a doctor, Marcus. People's lives depend on... I was a lawyer. Cases worth millions depended on me. That was my excuse. How's it different? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. It's different because I left you over this, because I knew better, because I... She trailed off, staring at her coffee cup. Because you thought the problem was me, not the pattern. She looked up, and I saw fear in her eyes. Real fear. I'm doing it again, aren't I? Yeah, I said gently. I think you are. We sat in silence for a while. The coffee shop bustled around us. People on laptops, students studying, couples on dates who didn't know yet what they'd become. How did you stop? Rachel asked finally. I haven't. Not completely, but I made a choice. Sophie over everything else. Every single time there's a conflict, she wins. It's hard. I've lost clients. Jason's pissed at me half the time, but I show up now. I'm there. And that works? It's working better than what I was doing before. Rachel was quiet, processing. I kept telling myself it was different, that saving lives justified the sacrifice, that you chose work over us, but I was choosing to help people. That made it noble, right, essential. It's a better excuse than mine, but it's still an excuse. When did you get so wise? When I lost everything and had to figure out why. She picked up her coffee cup, realized it was empty, set it back down. Her hands were shaking slightly. I used to judge you so harshly, she said. In my head, I was the hero of our story, the one who saw what mattered, the one who tried to save us while you selfishly chose ambition. And now I'm doing the same thing, and I hate myself for it. I hate that Sophie is experiencing the same disappointment from me that she got from you. Rachel, no, let me finish. I need to say this. She took a breath. I'm terrified that this is just who I am, that I'm fundamentally incapable of balance. That work will always win, because at least with work, I know the rules. I know how to succeed. With relationships, with Sophie, with you. It's messy and unpredictable, and I can fail even when I'm trying my hardest. That's exactly what I told Dr. Brennan, word for word. What did she say? That change isn't a transaction. It's a daily practice, that sometimes you do everything right and still don't get the outcome you want. That's not very reassuring. No, but it's true. Rachel's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it, and I saw the reflexive reach, the muscle memory of always answering. Don't, I said. It could be important. So is this. She stared at the phone, hand hovering. Then, in a move that surprised both of us, she picked it up and turned it completely off, not just face down, off. There, she said. Now it can't interrupt us. I felt something crack in my chest, not breaking, but opening. I broke up with Dr. Peterson last week, she said suddenly. Oh? He wanted me to move in with him, said it would be good for Sophie to see a stable relationship. But I realized I was dating him for the wrong reasons. He was safe, controlled, never made me feel anything too deeply. Just like... She paused. Just like I had been. Yeah. More silence. I miss us, Rachel said softly. The real us, before everything got complicated. Me too. But I don't know if we can go back. We can't, I agreed. But maybe we can go forward differently. She looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in months. You're different, she said. Something changed. I stopped hiding. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't even glance at it. I've been thinking, she said slowly, about what I said, when I told you it was too late. My heart started beating faster. And? I think I was right. It was too late. For who we were. For that version of us. She took a breath. But maybe it's not too late for who we could be. The first family dinner was Rachel's idea. "Nothing fancy," she said when she called. "Just the three of us. No pressure, just trying." We met at the house, our house, though she didn't live there anymore. Sophie arrived with Rachel, carrying groceries. "We're making your grandmother's lasagna," Rachel announced. "All of us." The recipe required 3 pairs of hands. Rachel directed operations like a general. Sophie handled the noodles. I was on sauce duty. "You're putting in too much oregano," Rachel said, watching over my shoulder. "I thought you liked oregano." "I do, but Grandma's recipe calls for basil." "Since when?" "Since always, Marcus. You just never paid attention." But she was smiling when she said it. Not the tired smile from before. A real one. Sophie watched us with cautious hope, like someone watching a ceasefire that might not hold. We ate together at the table, no phones, no distractions, talked about Sophie's upcoming debate tournament, about Rachel's new project at the clinic, about a case I'd turned down because it would have required too much travel. "You turned down a case?" Rachel asked, genuinely shocked. "It would have meant missing 2 weekends with Sophie." "And that's more important than the case?" "A year ago, I would have said no. Now?" I looked at Sophie. "Yeah, it is." After dinner, Sophie went upstairs to do homework. Rachel and I washed dishes together, falling into a rhythm we'd forgotten we had. "This was nice," she said, handing me a plate to dry. "Yeah, it was. We should do it again. Maybe weekly?" "I'd like that." She was quiet for a moment, then, "I've been thinking about what you said, about me turning into you. Rachel, no, you were right. I left you because you chose work over us. Then I immediately threw myself into work to avoid dealing with the divorce. Classic avoidance. Dr. Brennan would have a field day." "You're seeing Dr. Brennan?" "Started last month. Figured if you could go to therapy, I could too." I set down the dish towel and turned to face her. "Rachel, I need to tell you something." She turned off the water, giving me her full attention. "I've spent the last 6 months learning how to be a person again, how to be present, how to feel things instead of just achieving things. And it's been hard, and I still mess up, but I'm trying." I took a breath. "And I've realized that what I want, more than anything, is another chance. Not to go back to who we were, but to build something new. With you, if you'll let me." She studied my face, and I could see her processing, analyzing, protecting herself. "I'm scared," she said finally. "Me too." "What if we try and it doesn't work?" "Then at least we tried, really tried. Not the half-assed version where I'm always 1 foot out the door, full commitment, all in." "I don't know if I can trust that you won't just go back to old patterns." "I can't promise I won't slip up. But I can promise I'll catch myself faster, that I'll listen when you tell me I'm slipping, that I won't make you wait 17 years for me to get it." Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "I need time to think about this." "Take all the time you need." She dried her hands, grabbed her coat. At the door, she paused. "Marcus?" "Yeah?" "Thank you for showing up to the debate. Sophie told me you've been at every single one since the fall. She's incredible. I'm not missing that anymore." Rachel nodded, then left. I stood in the doorway, watching her car pull away, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. 3 weeks later, Rachel showed up at my office unannounced. My assistant buzzed me. "Your wife, sorry, ex-wife, is here to see you. Send her in." Rachel walked into my office carrying a folder. She looked nervous. "Is everything okay?" I asked, standing. "Is Sophie—" "Sophie's fine. This isn't about Sophie." She set the folder on my desk. "It's about us." I opened it. Inside were papers, legal papers. My heart sank. "Rachel." "These are the divorce papers," she said. "The ones you signed. The ones I filed. I know what they are. I'm withdrawing them. The world stopped. What? I'm withdrawing the petition, calling off the divorce. She sat down, her hands shaking slightly. But there are conditions. I sat down too, not trusting my legs. We both go to therapy, together and separately, as she said, weekly, non-negotiable. Okay, we establish boundaries around work. Both of us. I've already talked to my partners about reducing my hours. You need to do the same. I will. We do weekly family dinners, all three of us. No phones, no excuses. Yes. And we take it slow. I'm not moving back in right away. We need to rebuild trust first. Prove to each other this is different. Whatever you need. She looked at me, and I saw vulnerability there, the same vulnerability I'd been too blind to see before. I'm terrified this is a mistake, she said. It's not. You don't know that. You're right. I don't. But Rachel, I've spent 6 months learning what life looks like without you, and it's a life I don't want. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll be whatever you need me to be. I don't need you to be anything except present, really, truly present. Then that's what I'll be. She stood up, and I stood with her. We looked at each other across my desk, the desk I'd spent so many late nights at, choosing work over her, over us. This is my move, she said softly. The one I should have made years ago instead of just leaving. I'm choosing us. But Marcus, if you screw this up, if you go back to how things were, I won't give you another chance. This is it. I understand. Do you? Because this isn't about grand gestures. It's about showing up every single day, being present for the boring moments, the hard moments, the ordinary moments. Can you do that? I thought about the man I'd been, the one who measured success in billable hours and client acquisitions, who thought love meant providing instead of participating. Then I thought about the man I was becoming, the one who showed up to Sophie's debates, who turned off his phone at dinner, who learned that vulnerability wasn't weakness. I can, I said. I am. Rachel walked around the desk, stood in front of me, close enough that I could smell her shampoo, the same one she'd used for 17 years. Then let's try this again, she said. For real this time. And she kissed me. It wasn't like our first kiss, all excitement and promise. It wasn't like our wedding kiss, full of hope and certainty. It was something else, a kiss between two people who'd broken each other and were choosing to rebuild anyway. A kiss that acknowledged the scars while believing in the possibility of healing. When we pulled apart, I was crying. So was she. We're going to mess this up sometimes, she said. Probably. But we'll fix it faster this time. Yeah, we will. She wiped her eyes, laughed at herself. God, we're a mess. The best kind of mess. Is there a best kind? The kind that knows it's a mess and tries anyway. She grabbed her coat, started to leave, then stopped, sat back down. Marcus, I need to tell you something. Before we do this, before we try again, I need you to know something. My stomach tightened. Okay. When I filed for divorce, I meant it. I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't trying to scare you into changing. I was done. Completely, utterly done. I'd grieved the marriage for 2 years before I even filed the papers. I know. Do you? Because I need you to understand that if we do this, if we really try again, it's not because I couldn't let go. It's not because I was waiting for you to change. It's because you actually changed. And I changed. And maybe we can build something new from the wreckage. I understand. I hope so. Because I won't survive losing you again. If we do this and it doesn't work, if you go back to who you were or I go back to who I was, we're done. For good. No more chances. Then we don't go back. It's not that simple. Old patterns are comfortable, familiar. When things get hard, we'll want to retreat to what we know, so we'll remind each other, hold each other accountable. She studied my face, and I could see her weighing the risk, calculating the cost. "I'm having dinner with Sophie tonight," she finally said. "Want to join us?" "I have a client meeting at 6. Her face fell slightly, and there it was, the old disappointment I'd seen 1,000 times. "But I'm going to reschedule it," I finished, "because family dinner is more important than any client." Her smile, the real smile I'd fallen in love with 20 years ago, broke across her face like sunrise. "Pick us up at 7. Bring wine." "I love you, Rachel." "I love you too, Marcus. Let's not forget that this time." The next 3 weeks were strange. We didn't announce anything to Sophie right away. We just started showing up together more often. Family dinners became regular, then movie nights, then Sunday morning pancakes that stretched into the afternoon. Sophie watched us like we were a science experiment that might explode. "What are you guys doing?" she asked one night, watching Rachel and me wash dishes together in my kitchen. "What do you mean?" Rachel asked, too innocently. "You're being weird, both of you. Dad's smiling, you're laughing. It's unsettling." "We're just spending time together," I said. "Are you, like, back together?" Rachel and I exchanged glances. "We're trying," Rachel said carefully, "taking it slow, no guarantees." "But you withdrew the divorce papers." "How did you know that?" "I'm 15, not blind. Plus you've been humming in the morning again. You only do that when you're happy." Rachel blushed. "Am I that transparent?" "Completely." 6 months later, I was sitting in the audience at Sophie's State Debate Championship. On my left was Rachel, her hand in mine. On my right was Jason and Amy, who'd driven 2 hours to be there. Sophie was arguing about education reform with the kind of passion and precision that made me burst with pride. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. Rachel squeezed my hand. "You can check it if you need to." "I don't need to. New Marcus really is different from old Marcus." Old Marcus would have already checked it 3 times and be thinking about responding. "What changed?" I looked at her, then at Sophie on stage. "I learned that I spent 17 years building a career and almost lost everything that actually mattered. And when you gave me a second chance, when you performed that move that changed everything, I realized I couldn't waste it." "It wasn't just me," Rachel said. "You did the work too." "We both did." The phone buzzed again, then a 3rd time. Rachel noticed. "Must be important." "It can wait." "Are you sure? I won't be upset if you need to check." I pulled out the phone, glanced at the screen. 7 missed calls from Bill Morrison, 3 from Jason. A text that made my stomach drop. "Emergency. Patterson case imploding. Client threatening to pull out. Need you now, or we lose everything." The old me would have already been halfway to the car. 3 million in fees, 6 months of work, the firm's reputation, everything Jason and I had built together. Rachel was watching my face. "That bad?" I showed her the screen. "Oh, Marcus, that's..." She paused, clearly torn. "That's huge. The Patterson case. That's what you and Jason have been working on for months." "Yeah." "You should go. I understand. Sophie will understand." Sophie was on stage, waiting for the judges' final scores. 17 years old, brilliant, the daughter I'd barely known 6 months ago because I was always somewhere else, chasing something that seemed more urgent. I looked at the phone, at Rachel, at Sophie on stage, then I turned off the phone, completely off. "What are you doing?" Rachel asked, surprised. "Choosing. But the case will be there when I get back, or it won't. Either way, I'm not missing this. I've missed too much already." Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "You're really sure?" "The old me would have left already, convinced myself that providing for you and Sophie meant sacrificing moments like this. But that was never true. You never needed more money. You needed me, and I was too proud or too scared or too stupid to see it. What about Jason? Jason will understand, and if he doesn't, then maybe this partnership isn't what I thought it was. I texted Jason, "Can't come, at Sophie's state championship. Deal with it or don't, but I'm staying here. We'll talk tomorrow." His response came immediately. "About damn time, brother. Tell Sophie good luck. Don't you dare leave that competition." I showed Rachel the text. She laughed through her tears. "He gets it," she said. "Yeah, he does." Sophie finished her argument. The audience applauded. She looked into the crowd, found us, and smiled. A smile that said she knew we were there, really there, not just physically present, but emotionally invested. After she won, decimating the competition, we took her out to celebrate. Not somewhere fancy, the same burger place she loved, the one where I'd once been too distracted to notice she was hurting. This time, my phone stayed in my pocket. Rachel's too. We listened to Sophie talk about her next tournament, her college plans, her dreams. We were present. We were there. "You guys are being weird," Sophie said eventually, looking between us with suspicion. "What do you mean?" Rachel asked. "You're both here, like actually here, both of you. It's weird." "Good weird or bad weird?" I asked. Sophie considered this, then smiled. "Good weird. Keep being weird." Later, after we dropped Sophie at Rachel's apartment, she still wasn't ready to move back full-time. Rachel and I sat in my car in comfortable silence. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" "For not giving up, for making that move, for believing we could be different." "We are different," she corrected. "Not could be. Are present tense." "Yeah, we are." She kissed me goodnight, then got out of the car. But before closing the door, she leaned back in. "Same time next week for family dinner. Wouldn't miss it. Even if you have a big case? Even if I have the biggest case of my career, you and Sophie first, everything else second. I'm going to hold you to that. I'm counting on it." She smiled and walked away, and I watched her go. Not with the desperation of someone losing something precious, but with the confidence of someone who'd almost lost everything and learned what actually mattered. My phone buzzed again. I pulled it out. A text from Jason. "Emergency client situation. Need you." A year ago, I would have started the car immediately, called him back, jumped into crisis mode. Instead, I typed, "Handle it, I'm with family tonight. We'll deal with it tomorrow." His response, "Who are you and what have you done with Marcus?" Mine, "Figured out what actually matters. Talk tomorrow." I put the phone away and drove home, to the house that was slowly becoming ours again, one weekly dinner at a time. The work would be there tomorrow. It would always be there. But tonight, I'd shown up. For Sophie, for Rachel, for the family I'd almost destroyed and was slowly rebuilding. That was the real victory, not the cases won or the clients gained or the reputation built. Just showing up, being present, being enough. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw a light on in the living room. Strange. I'd left all the lights off. Then I saw Rachel's car parked on the street. I found her inside, sitting on the couch with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. "I used my key," she said. "Hope that's okay." "More than okay. What are you doing here?" "Sophie went to sleep over at her friend Mia's house, and I didn't want to go back to my empty apartment, and I thought maybe—" She trailed off, uncertain. "Maybe what?" "Maybe we could just talk, really talk, the way we used to, before everything got complicated, before we became people who communicated through lawyers and scheduled custody exchanges." I sat down next to her. She poured us each a glass of wine. "I've been thinking about something Dr. Brennan said in one of our sessions," Rachel began. "She asked me what I'd do if I could go back in time and talk to the version of myself that was about to marry you. What advice I'd give her. What did you say?" "I said I'd tell her to pay attention, to notice when he starts choosing work over her, to speak up sooner, to not let resentment build for years before addressing it." She took a sip of wine. "But that wasn't really the right answer, because if I'd done all that differently, If I'd been more vigilant about protecting our relationship from the start, I would have still been operating from a place of fear, of preventing loss rather than building connection. So, what's the right answer? I'd tell her to enjoy the man she's about to marry, to not worry so much about the future that she misses the present, to trust that even if things get hard, and they will, they'll find their way back to each other if they both want to. She looked at me, and in her eyes I saw everything, the love, the hurt, the hope, the fear. I want to, Marcus. I want to find our way back. I think we're doing it. But some days I'm terrified we're just going to slip back into old patterns. So am I. Every single day. Really? Really? But being scared doesn't mean we shouldn't try. It just means we have to be intentional, conscious. We have to choose each other every day, not just once. It wasn't too late after all. It never is. Until we convince ourselves it is and stop trying. Rachel had taught me that, by performing the move I never expected, choosing us again, after I'd already said it was too late, and in doing so, she changed everything.